Please rise for the passing of the colors.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the university community, I'd like to welcome you to the 2011 Spring Graduate Commencement Exercises. We'll now have the singing of the National Anthem by Ms. Allison Brownell and the posting of the colors by the University Color Guard.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. We are pleased to have with us today representatives from Virginia Tech's Board of Visitors, which is the governing authority for the university. Board members are appointed by the governor, and Virginia Tech has been fortunate to have a record of appointees who bring to this voluntary service a deep and genuine commitment to the university. And I'd like to ask the rector of the board, Mr. George Nolan, and Mr. John Rokovich, also a member of our board, to please stand and be recognized. Gentlemen. We also welcome several university representatives to the board: Dr. Mike Ellenbrock, faculty representative, Mr. Depu George, graduate student representative, and Ms. Maxine Lyons, staff representative. Ladies and gentlemen, please recognize these individuals with your applause. Now I would like to introduce Dr. Mark McNamee, our Senior Vice President and Provost, and the deans of our colleges. These individuals have the immense academic and administrative responsibility for the complex and multifaceted missions of the university. First, Dr. Karen DuPaw, Vice President and Dean of Graduate Education, Dr. Janet Rankin, Associate Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Alan Grant, Dean of Agriculture and Life Sciences, Professor Jack Davis, Dean of the College of Architecture and Urban Studies, Dr. Richard Sorensen, Dean of the Pamplin College of Business, Dr. Richard Benson, Dean of Engineering, Professor Suat Rollins, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, Dean Paul Winestorfer, Dean of the College of Natural Resources, Dr. Lei-Nam Chang, Dean of the College of Science, and Dr. Roger Avery, Associate Dean of the Virginia Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine. So please recognize these individuals. I'd also like to acknowledge the university's senior administrators who have joined us on stage today. Dr. John Dooley, Vice President for Outreach and International Affairs, Dr. Elizabeth Flanagan, Vice President for Development and University Relations, Dr. William Lewis, the Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion, Mr. Dwight Shelton, Vice President for Finance and Chief Financial Officer, and Dr. Edward Spencer, Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Tom Tiller, Vice President for Alumni Relations, Dr. Robert Walters, Vice President for Research, Dr. Sherwood Wilson, Vice President for Administrative Services, Dr. Daniel Wubaugh, Vice President and Dean for Undergraduate Education, and Mr. Tyler Walters, Dean of the University Libraries. Please recognize these individuals. Also on stage are Dr. Gary Long, the Commencement Marshal, Ms. Kimberly Danilowski, the Graduate Student Marshal and recipient of the 2011 Outstanding Doctoral Student Award for the Pamplin College of Business. Our other student participants are Mr. Ganesh Balasubramanian, the Graduate Student Commencement Speaker, and Ms. Michelle McLeish, President of the Graduate Student Assembly. Please recognize these folks. This afternoon, we are pleased to recognize and celebrate with our graduate students. We are here to honor you. This ceremony signifies a tremendous achievement, a celebration of your talents and your skills and your hard work. And we look forward with great anticipation to learning of your continued progress and your future accomplishments. And I'm sure that you will continue to display the Hokie spirit and always be a part of the very special Virginia Tech community. As you know, the degrees that you're about to receive are the highest that students may earn. It is also important to note that these students would not have achieved their goals without the teaching and the guidance of the faculty. So I'd like to take a moment and ask all of the faculty to stand and be recognized. Please, faculty, stand up. Thank you. There are many faculty and staff members who have worked tirelessly to make this commencement a celebratory event. Many are serving as ushers and marshals today and have taken on additional administrative assignments to support this special occasion, and I want you to know that your efforts are much appreciated. Also, behind each graduate student is a supporting cast of family members, friends, and community members. And I'd like the families of the graduate students to stand so we could recognize you as well. We know you contributed a lot to their success. Families, stand up. Thank you. The student body at Virginia Tech represents nearly 50 states and 120 nations. Graduate students are extremely important to the university's research and scholarship mission. During this semester, 1,372 students earned advanced degrees, including 1,039 master's degrees, 21 educational specialist degrees, and 242 doctoral degrees. And we have some 700 graduating students participating today. At this time, it's my pleasure to present Virginia Tech's Senior Vice President and Provost, Dr. Mark McNamee, who will introduce the graduate student speaker and today's commencement speaker. Dr. McNamee.
It is my pleasure to introduce Ganesh Balasubramanian, who is receiving his PhD today in Engineering, Science, and Mechanics. Ganesh was named the 2011 Graduate Man of the Year for his consistent and committed leadership and service to Virginia Tech. He is an accomplished researcher and received the university's Pratt Presidential Fellowship, as well as the Liviu Librescu Memorial Scholarship from the Engineering, Science, and Mechanics Department. Upon graduation, Ganesh is heading for Germany, where he has accepted a position as a postdoctoral research associate at one of the top technical universities in Germany, the Technical University at Darmstadt. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ganesh Balasubramanian.
Thank you. Thank you, President Seeger, Provost McNamee, Dean Dipper, distinguished faculty, staff, and students of the graduate school for this wonderful opportunity to address my fellow graduates in the joyful company of our colleagues and family and friends. Right now is the greatest moment of my life. Today marks the finale of a challenging journey that we started a few years ago. It is indeed a great moment of pride for all of us to have overcome the hurdles that we faced. Maybe it was research, or maybe it was coursework that hit hard. But no matter what was toughest in getting here today, we did it. And we did it with the support of our advisors, professors, colleagues, collaborators, mentors, and mentees. But there are some unsung heroes in this victory. Our family and friends have shared our joys when things went our way, although what we said might not have made sense to them. They were there to put a hand on our shoulder when this graduate life seemed to some of us to be the biggest mistake we had made. And then they are here today to celebrate our success. Through it all, they have supported us, and as one of my best friends would say, have helped us release our encapsulated value. Though we have already recognized them, they surely deserve more thanks. Let's give it for them. Members of my family are here today, having traveled all the way from India. In 2007, they watched me leave home to come to Virginia Tech. Little did I know that within days, Norris Hall would be my second home, and I would become the new member of the ESM family. The opportunities and support of the graduate school motivated me to serve our community and engage with students, staff, and faculty from diverse backgrounds. I can state with absolute certainty that the cumulative experiences of teaching, research, and outreach have enriched me as a person. I thank Virginia Tech for embracing me with open arms and for making my time here the best years of my life. Like Spider-Man's Uncle Ben said, with great power comes great responsibility. As graduates now, we are especially empowered to share our knowledge and wisdom for the betterment of humankind. My graduate life experiences have taught me that nothing is beyond us as long as we persevere and maintain our tenacity for excellence and success. So as we move forward from this memorable moment in our lives, let us keep pursuing greater goals, remembering our Hoki motto, Ad Prosim, that I may serve. Thank you.
I'm very pleased to introduce today's commencement speaker, Dr. Betty Chow, who is a Virginia Tech alumna and the founder, president, and chief executive officer of West Tech International Incorporated. West Tech, headquartered in Albuquerque, New Mexico, started as a one-person consulting business in 1994. Today, the company has expanded operations to 14 states with approximately 300 employees and annual revenues of $30 million. Dr. Chow moved to the United States from Taiwan as a young child and credits her father with ingraining in her the idea that education opens the path to opportunity. She earned her bachelor's and master's degrees at the University of Michigan and then enrolled at Virginia Tech to earn her PhD in Industrial and Systems Engineering in 1983. After graduation, she went to work for Sandia National Laboratories in Albuquerque. Dr. Chow was recently awarded the New Mexico Ethics in Business Award for Ethical Entrepreneurship, and she's received the Small Business Administration's Administrator Award for Excellence 3 different times. In 2001, the Department of Commerce named West Tech its Regional Technology Firm of the Year and named Dr. Chow as National Minority Female Entrepreneur of the Year. She currently serves on the Board of Advisors to the U.S. Pan-Asian American Chamber of Commerce and was recently on the board for the New Mexico Symphony Orchestra. This evening, at the undergraduate commencement ceremony, Dr. Chow has the double honor of also receiving the University Distinguished Achievement Award. Please welcome Dr. Betty Chow.
President Steger, Provost McNamee, Dean DePaul, faculty and staff, thank you so much for this invitation. I am most honored and delighted to share this momentous day with your graduate class of 2011. I've never given a commencement speech in my life, so I went to the internet, like most of you would, to get some tips. And this is what I found. A commencement speech has to entertain, motivate, inspire, and sprinklings of poetry. Well, I'm a graduate of, engineering graduate of 1983, and I can assure you, entertainment is not part of my repertoire. As for inspiring and motivating you with sprinklings of poetry, I'm sure some of you and all of the illustrious folks up here around me have heard hundreds of such speeches. So I thought to myself, actually I fretted for weeks about this. What can I do? So what I would like to share with you in 10 minutes or less, some nuggets that I hope will help you in your life journey and your career. Be bold. Be fierce, be curious, light up the fire in your belly. Above all, do not be afraid of failures. When I graduated here in 1983, I had a very well-paying job lined up with pension, 5 weeks of vacation, and full medical coverage of all things. That was my expectation for a satisfying career and life at the age of 27. I worked at Sandia National Labs, and the place was full of masters and PhDs like yourself, so it was a quite stimulating environment. The laboratory was intimately involved in the Cold War nuclear weapons programs. As a result, a lot of information and knowledge were kept in the brains of the engineers. I was just one of very few women engineers. Unfortunately, a lot of decisions were made in the men's johns, which, of course, I was not privy to. I complained quite frequently and loudly that I was not part of the team and was not involved in the decision-making process. Very soon, I had the reputation of being the aggressive one. That's okay, because in the end, I was part of the team and part of the decision-making process. After the Cold War, the mission of the laboratory was in a state of flux, and it wasn't so stimulating anymore for a young engineer. I conscientiously put aside my material comfort and decided to strike out on my own. Many of my co-workers, they stayed at the laboratories. Throughout the years, these individuals commented that I looked happier and happier, and they were getting more and more disgruntled. Many of my colleagues retired as soon as their pension vested, and many of them now have different careers, and they are happy and smiling. Be bold in your journey and your career. Some of you are probably thinking, well, a well-paying job with pension and full medical coverage is being bold. But I submit to you, you will regret not abandoning comfort for the extraordinary. For me, extraordinary is shaping my own destiny. Extraordinary is leaving a legacy with the university here that will last for a long time into the future. Extraordinary is recognition, such as the invitation to speak in front of you on this auspicious occasion. All of you, by receiving your degree today, demonstrate your scholastic achievement abilities. Take this achievement even further. Be bold in being overachievers. Congresswoman Gabby Giffords' mother said her daughter is an overachiever. And this mindset is one of the factors, I believe, that has given her the strength to defy all odds, and surely she'll be back at work shortly. Do not be content with status quo. Be bold, be vigilant in going beyond your comfort zone. Be fierce in your journey and your career. When I was a young weapons designer at Sandia Labs, I was one of very few women engineers. To be fierce, I apologize, I got so wrapped up I forgot where I was. To be fierce is to be able to shape your outcomes. My company provides federal government agency services. Prior to receiving a contract, we have to respond to a request for proposal. When we do respond to one of those requests for proposals, we have done 1 to 2 years of legwork so that much of the information in the request for proposal are known to us, and we are able to write a winning proposal. By this due diligence, I am able to shape the company's outcome by winning contracts as much as $500 million. On the current business opportunity, we are working with a very small woman-owned business. This woman-owned business, the owner is repeatedly astounded that I do not take no for an answer. As an example, this business did not have certain requirements to qualify to even bid on a job. And the owner, she was willing to just walk away. I told her that was not the right answer, and then I gave her an avenue to pursue. She did, and to her astonishment, she prevailed. The outcome is we are able to bid on a job. Be fierce. Do not take the back seat, but rather be the driver in shaping your journey and destiny. Be curious, be inquisitive, ask lots of questions. No doubt all of you are curious, otherwise, that's why you're here receiving your diplomas today, your degrees today. I challenge you to be even more curious. My father was a curious soul. He had a PhD in material science. He did not stop there. He was continuously inventing things and writing patents. Our house was in a constant disarray because he was doing experiments. By the way, my father was deaf in 1 year because in his young college years, one of his experiments exploded unexpectedly. My father spoke and wrote 4 languages fluently: Mandarin, of course, Japanese, French, and English. On his sudden death, he was mastering Spanish and Portuguese. I think those of us who are shy in nature, we are really reluctant to ask questions. I am an introvert, according to the Myers-Briggs personality test. But this has not deterred me from asking lots and lots of questions. Oftentimes, we think our questions are stupid, but you'd be amazed once you've asked them how relevant and poignant they are. I further submit to you, the day you stop being curious is when your brain starts to deteriorate. So, be curious and be vigilant in asking questions. Some of you may be wondering what I meant when I say, light up the fire in your belly. In one simple word, passion. All of us have passion. It just so happened that some of us don't know what it is yet. Some of us need a little help in kindling the passion. And some of you are full speed ahead, charging on your way. My husband and I have a house in Colorado, and from Albuquerque to get to Colorado, it's a good 6 hours drive, so we spend a lot of time chit-chatting and talking. On one of these trips, we were talking about what made various people tick, passion, if you will. My husband's response as to what made me tick was very simple: work out, and Ollie, my dog. Obviously, my business is in the forefront of my passion. Workout is the time that I take for myself to rejuvenate my body. Ollie, bless his little soul, he was a very cute and adorable dog. Many of my competitors asserted that Ollie was my secret marketing weapon because many generals and colonels would request for his presence at meetings. So it is clear to you what the fire in my belly is. I've been very fortunate to take that bold step 16 years ago. I encourage each and every one of you to pursue your passion in your life's journey. Finally, I know it's hot up here and you want your degree, so I will wrap up with a few words about do not be afraid of failures. In my business endeavors, I have failed repeatedly, with some failures that were extremely costly, not only in terms of millions and millions of dollars, but having to lay off tens and hundreds of people. This has not deterred me, and it has not caused me to go back to my comfort zone. On the contrary, I keep on taking risks and making more mistakes. But each mistake taught me valuable lessons, and it is from the lessons that one succeeds. If you fail, try it again. In the end, you will say, it was a fun, thrilling, successful, and worthwhile journey. Graduates, go out there and make it a worthwhile journey for yourself. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Chow. We appreciate your strong commitment to graduate education and to the missions of the university. We would now like to observe a special award ceremony. I call upon Graduate Dean Karen DePaul and Dr. Tom Tiller, Vice President for Alumni Relations, to come forward to explain its significance.
Good afternoon. The success of a university is often best reflected in the accomplishments of its alumni. Together, the Graduate School and the Alumni Association have established the Graduate Alumni Achievement Award to recognize graduate alum who have achieved the highest goals in their fields. Their accomplishments are a source of pride to the university and validate our mission to further graduate education. I am very pleased to announce that the 2011 recipient of the Graduate Alumni Achievement Award is Dr. Kirk H. Schultz. Dr. Schultz, will you please come forward?
What do you want me to do?
Kirk H. Schultz currently serves as the 13th president of Kansas State University, where he initiated the K-State 2025 Visionary Planning Initiative, which seeks to place Kansas State University among the top 50 public research universities in the next 15 years. Dr. Schultz attended Old Dominion University before transferring to Virginia Tech, where he earned both his BS and PhD degrees. In recognition of achievements in the field of chemical engineering, Dr. Schultz has been selected as a fellow in both the American Society of Engineering Education and the American Association for the Advancement of Science. He was recognized with the Virginia Tech College of Engineering Outstanding Young Alumnus Award in 2000. President Schultz is active in the Boy Scouts of America and serves on the executive board of the Coronado Council. He also serves various roles on the boards of Cereal Food Processors, the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation, the Kansas Bioscience Authority, the Big 12 Athletic Conference, and the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. Dr. Schultz, for your extraordinary achievements in your field, the Graduate School and the Virginia Tech Alumni Association proudly present you the 2011 Graduate Alumni Achievement Award.
Well, let me offer my congratulations to our graduates today. I've found as I've gone through my career that my time at Virginia Tech has been invaluable in helping me lead one of the nation's great land-grant universities. I learned perseverance and leadership and hard work and all the things that I think have helped me as I've gone through my career. So I believe that the remarks you heard by our outstanding graduation speaker, take to heart, be bold, go out and do great things, and look forward to seeing some of you all up here being recognized for your alma mater in the future. Go Hokies.
Now I'd like to call again upon Dean DePaul, who will present some reflections and acknowledgments, followed by an introduction of the candidates to be hooded.
One of the great pleasures of the Graduate School Dean is to introduce the candidates for the graduate degrees and to acknowledge all of their, well, maybe not all of their accomplishments, but a lot of their accomplishments. Each and every student here today has a story to share their experiences and activities during graduate education. The Graduate School is committed to building graduate community, and today we wish to recognize and acknowledge many of you who have been an integral part of a very strong graduate community. I'll begin by recognizing the many students who have earned any external fellowships or scholarships during their time here at Virginia Tech, and I will ask you to please stand and remain standing. Those of you who have received fellowships, please stand, and some of these include the National Fellowships from the National Science Foundation, U.S. Department of Energy, Agriculture and Defense, EPA, and NASA. And yes, I know some of you are sitting out there, so this is the time when you're supposed to stand up. Many other students have received fellowships and scholarships from the university. Yes, thank you. So now we're getting to some of the university scholarships, like the Cunningham, the Charles and Marion Via, the Pratt, the Bradley, David and Lillian Francis, Eleanor Davenport, and many, many more. Congratulations to those, and please remain standing. In addition, we would like to acknowledge the students selected annually by each college as their outstanding master's and doctoral candidates, recipients of the Graduate Teaching Assistance Excellence and Graduate Student Service Award, Graduate Man of the Year, Graduate Woman of the Year, and all of those awardees should be standing. I would also like to recognize the students who have earned the distinction of being named Citizen Scholars through a program established by the Graduate School that encourages grad students to use their research and academic skills to solve real-world problems in partnership with various communities. Please remain standing as I invite the others who have been a member of the Alpha Epsilon Lambda, an honorary society. We also, and members of the newly formed Interdisciplinary Research Society, Iota Delta Rho. And please stand if you have participated in the Graduate Scholar Society. Please stand if you have participated in the Graduate Student Assembly, in leadership positions, in meetings, social gathering, research symposium, scholarship, or participated in many events sponsored by the Graduate School. Many of you have t-shirts from the Graduate Education Week, if you have one of those, if you have been to our barbecues, if you've been to our orientations. Finally, please stand if you have lived in the Graduate Life Center, visited the Graduate Life Center, attended classes in the GLC, the computer lab, student lounge, reading room, the outdoor GLC plaza, visited the graduate school here or in Northern Virginia or wherever our presence is. All of you should be standing by now. Ladies and gentlemen, our graduates. And now you may be seated. I'm very pleased to announce that the National Organization of University Student Service Administrators, so titled the Commission for Graduate and Professional Students, has just awarded its 2011 Outstanding Innovation Program Award to the Graduate Life Center. This award recognizes programs that break new boundaries in serving graduate and professional students, achieving outstanding goals, or making significant impact on the quality of our graduate education. And I was very pleased to have us accept that honor. Each year, we select graduates for special recognition, and today I would like to recognize Martha Gross. Martha, please stand. Martha will receive 2 degrees today, a doctorate in civil engineering and an MBA. Notwithstanding these accomplishments, of which she should be very proud, she also holds the title of the longest term resident of the Graduate Life Center at Donaldson Brown. She was the winner of the Coolest Room on Campus Award and other distinctions that I probably shouldn't mention here. Congratulations, Martha. We are happy to see you graduate, but really sorry to see you leave. For the next few minutes, we are pleased to present a feature unique to the graduate commencement ceremony. To honor our students, the Graduate School commissioned an original composition by Virginia Tech music professor James Soginski, and it is entitled Ad Futurum Formandum. Today's music is a newly composed special setting for brass based upon his earlier piece, which was written in 1998 as an anthem celebrating Virginia Tech's 125th anniversary. The piece utilizes primary melodic materials of the 1998 anthem, and its title is a paraphrasing of Invent the Future. Today's performance by the Virginia Tech Brass Ensemble will be accompanied by a brief slideshow that portrays the diversity and the vitality of a year in the life of the graduate student community at Virginia Tech, and of course, on the GLC Plaza. I hope you enjoy the next few minutes in which we share this musical and visual tribute to graduate education at Virginia Tech.
We will now begin the conferral of degrees. The presentation of the doctoral degree is accompanied by a special tradition within academia. The doctoral degree recipients will be hooded by their major professors. The faculty member who accompanies the student to the stage is a member of the student's research committee and in most cases is the student's major doctoral advisor. That faculty member who mentored and most closely supervised the student in their research. By hooding the graduate today, the faculty member symbolically welcomes the graduate as a professional colleague, a professional relationship and friendship that often continues throughout the graduates' and the mentors' lives.
Will all the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Education degrees please rise? President Steger, it is my honor to present the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Education degrees.
With the power vested in me by the Board of Visitors in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and upon the recommendation of the faculty, I confer upon you the Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Education degrees to which you are entitled with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the marshals please escort the candidates for the doctoral degrees and their major professors to the stage for the hooding ceremony? Dr. Joseph Marola will now read the names of the doctoral recipients and the hooding professors.
Receiving the Doctor of Philosophy from the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences in Agriculture and Extension Education, Jill Nicole Caston, hooded by Professor Rick Rudd. Corey Michael Epler, hooded by Professor Thomas Broyles. Catherine Elizabeth McKee, hooded by Professor Donna Moore. In Animal and Dairy Sciences, Mini Baratan, hooded by Professor Isis Malarkey. In Biochemistry, William Joseph Allen, hooded by Professor David Bevan. Daniel Rafat Tadros Rageb, hooded by Professor Michael Klemba. In Crop, Soil, and Environmental Sciences, Catherine Louise Bonin, hooded by Professor Benjamin Tracy. Clayton Enrique Sakiera, hooded by Professor Mark Alley. In Horticulture, Hong Ju, hooded by Professor Eric Beers. In Human Nutrition, Food, and Exercise, Umesh Daurao Wankade, hooded by Professor Deborah Good. In plant pathology, physiology, and weed science, Lee Ann Harrison, hooded by Professor Elizabeth Graybow. Shuang Chun Yan, hooded by Professor Boris Vanatzer. From the College of Architecture and Urban Studies, in Public Administration and Public Affairs, Dong Shin Kim, hooded by Professor Karen Holt. Gabrielle Martine Tallera, hooded by Professor Larkin Dudley. From the Pamplin College of Business, in Business Accounting, Rebecca Gilmore Fay, hooded by Professor Gregory Jenkins. In Business Marketing, Kimberly Marie Danilowski, hooded by Professor David Brinberg. In Hospitality and Tourism Management, Seong Woo, hooded by Professor Suzanne Merman. Chi Lun Yen, hooded by Professor Suzanne Merman. From the College of Engineering, in Aerospace Engineering, Subramanya Valuri, hooded by Professor Christopher Roy. In Biological Systems Engineering, Ahmad Ibrahim Ataman, hooded by Professor Justin Barron. Young Gu Her, hooded by Professor Conrad Heatwell. Ying Jin, hooded by Professor Jacton Arogo Ogeo. Jessica Lindberg Kozarek, hooded by Professor Kali Hession. Andrea Laureen Ludwig, hooded by Professor Kali Hession. In Biomedical Engineering, Paulo Andes Garcia, hooded by Professor Rafael Davalos. Carolyn E. Hampton, hooded by Professor Clay Gabler. Stephen Rowson, hooded by Professor Stefan Duma. Craig Philip Thor, hooded by Professor Clay Gabler. Lee David Wright, hooded by Professor Joseph Freeman. In Chemical Engineering, Sam Hoon Yoon, hooded by Professor Luke Acheni. In Civil Engineering, Ahmed Mohammed Mustafa Amir, hooded by Professor Hesham Raka. Martha Elizabeth Gross, hooded by Professor Michael Garvin. Laura Marie Kosolu, hooded by Professor George Fils. Alan Marshall Lighty, hooded by Professor Ivan Beliveau and Professor Sunil Sinha. Sang Jun Park, hooded by Professor Hesham Raka. Hyun Shin, hooded by Professor Raymond Plout. Lashan King Thomas, hooded by Professor Mark Widowson. Manusas S. Varadakis, hooded by Professor Panos Diplas and Professor Clinton Dancy. In computer engineering, Sumit Ahuja, hooded by Professor Sandeep Shukla. Mainak Banga, hooded by Professor Michael Xiao. Maheshwar Chandrasekhar, hooded by Professor Michael Xiao. Li Chen, hooded by Professor Scott Midkiff. Zhenhua Fang, hooded by Professor Alan McKenzie. David Kurt Rudishauser, hooded by Professor Mark Jones. In computer science and applications, Amin Shagani, hooded by Professor Osman Balchi. Laurian Claire Vega, hooded by Professor Steve Harrison. Sheikh Shatab Wahid, hooded by Professor Scott McCrickard. In electrical engineering, Yan Dong, hooded by Professor Fred Lee. Jianbo Fu, hooded by Professor Fred Lee. Joseph Daniel Gadert, hooded by Professor Jeffrey Reed. Jung Hyun Lee, hooded by Professor Michael Burer. Young Sheng Sam Shi, hooded by Professor Alan McKenzie. Di Zhang, hooded by Professor Fred Lee. Ying Chen Zhang, hooded by Professors Centeno Virgilio and Professor Yilu Liu. In engineering mechanics, Ganesh Balasubramanian, hooded by Professor Ishwar Puri. Jeffrey Neil Bolton, hooded by Professor Glenn Craig. Eduardo Nicoli, hooded by Professor David Dillard. Giovanni Sansavini, hooded by Professor Ishwar Puri. Carmine Sanatora, hooded by Professor Shane Ross and Professor Corina Sandu. Yi Hong Yang, hooded by Professor Dimitri Telionis. Jen Yu Zhang, hooded by Professor Scott Case. In industrial and systems engineering, Khaled A. Alali, hooded by Professor John Casali. Evrim Dalkiran, hooded by Professor Hanif Sharali. Saida Falah Fini, hooded by Professor Jesus de la Garcia. Tracy Walker Gilbert, hooded by Professor Janice Turpenny. Elizabeth Haro, hooded by Professor Brian Kleiner. Yushu Hung, hooded by Professors Tanya Smith-Jackson and Professor Woodrow Winchester. Kiko Lee, hooded by Professor John Casali. In Materials Science and Engineering, Prabhakaran Munusamy, hooded by Professor Gary Pickrell. Raghunath Tredan Dapani, hooded by Professor David Clark. In Mechanical Engineering, Stephen Robert Anton, hooded by Professor Dan Inman. Ariaza Farjud, hooded by Professor Mehdi Ahmadian. David Owen Hubble, hooded by Professor Tom Diller. Luke Andrew Martin, hooded by Professor Daniel Inman. Mehdi Nika, hooded by Professor Masood Aga. Sunil Shankarao Patil, hooded by Professor Danesh Tafti. Param Sahidi, hooded by Professor Mehdi Ahmadian. Kelly Christine Stewart, hooded by Professor Kenneth Ball. Sayed Hossein Tamadoni, hooded by Professors Mehdi Ahmadian and Saeed Tahiri. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences in Counselor Education, Quentin R. Alexander, hooded by Professor Nancy Bodenhorn. Kristen Wallace Day, hooded by Professor Gerald Lawson. In Curriculum and Instruction, Randa Fuad Abdelhafez Abdelmajed, hooded by Professor John Burton. Todd Hamilton Bowden, hooded by Professor John Burton and Professor Bob Bowden. Albert Samuel Byers, hooded by Professor John Burton. Kimberly Danielle Irwin, hooded by Professor Mary Alice Barksdale. J. Henry Hershey, hooded by Professors Carrie Redican and Audrey Burnett. Dennis Stanislaus Kasu, hooded by Professor Mary Alice Barksdale. Vicky Brahud Nuralter, hooded by Professor Carrie Redican. Anika Tahira Richards, hooded by Professor Carrie Redican. Joan Monahan Watson, hooded by Professor Peter Doolittle. In Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, Kevin Gerard Bezzi, hooded by Professor David Parks. Brad Eric Bizel, hooded by Professor Theodore Creighton. Violet Johnson Hoyle, hooded by Professor Travis Twyford. Paul Douglas McLean, hooded by Professor Glenn Earthman. Thelma Gray Smith, hooded by Professor Travis Twyford. In Human Development, Crystal Lynn Duncan Lane, hooded by Professor Peggy Mazzaros. In Rhetoric and Writing, Jennifer A. Cover, hooded by Professor Katrina Powell. Brian J. Gogan, hooded by Professor Bernice Hausman. In Science and Technology Studies, Ashley Shue Heflin, hooded by Professor Joseph Pitt. From the College of Natural Resources in Forestry and Forest Products, Charles Obuya Sabatea, hooded by Professor Harold Burkhart. Rupesh Shrestha, hooded by Professor Randolph Wynn. Daniel Weiswa, hooded by Professor Stephen Prisley. In Geospatial and Environmental Analysis, Candice Ray Lubring, hooded by Professors Corinne Culivras and Professor Stephen Prisley. From the College of Science, in Chemistry, Joshua Parker Layfield, hooded by Professor Diego Troya. Christopher John Monceau, hooded by Professor Paul Carlier. Guo Yan Shu, hooded by Professor Felicia Etzkorn. Zhenfei Zhang, hooded by Professor Harry Dorn. In Economics, Ali Hashemi, hooded by Professor Javad Salehi Isfahani. In Mathematics, Ahmed Kafel, hooded by Professor Michael Renardi. Tufik Lodge, hooded by Professor Michael Renardi. Jessica Lindsay St. Clair, hooded by Professor Peter Haskell. In Physics, a husband and wife, both receiving their doctorates, Juliette May Mamey, hooded by Professor Mark Pitt. Russell Renee Mamey, hooded by Professor Robert Vogelard. In Statistics, Anne Garrett Ryan, hooded by Professor William Woodall. John L. Sarka III, hooded by Professor William Woodall. Matthew Richard Williams, hooded by Professor Dong Yoon Kim. From the Virginia-Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine in Biomedical and Veterinary Sciences, Murali Krishna Malela, hooded by Professor Teresa Hrubeck. Raghavendra Sumanth Kumar Pudapakam, hooded by Professor Shang Jin Mong. Interdisciplinary doctoral degrees in genetics, bioinformatics, and computational biology, Lakshmi Dharmarajan, hooded by Professor Biswarup Mukhabade. Lee J. Fralin, hooded by Professor Brett Tyler. Shiv Dutt Kali, hooded by Professor Brett Tyler. Arjun Krishnan, hooded by Professor Andy Pereira. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, receiving the Doctor of Education, Carrie Niner Elday, hooded by Professor Theodore Creighton. Sandra Slasky Hedrick, hooded by Professor Theodore Creighton. Asya Roche Jones, hooded by Professor Theodore Creighton. Stanley Bernard Jones, hooded by Professor Carol Cash. From the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences in Entomology, Gina Ann Davis, hooded by Professor Scott Salam and Professor L.T. Koch. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences and Curriculum and Instruction, Marcela Uribe Leon, hooded by Professor Girasilda Tilly Lubbs. From the College of Engineering in Electrical Engineering, Chen Yang Chen, hooded by Professor Jason Lay. In Computer Science and Applications, Uma Murthy, hooded by Professor Edward Fox. In Engineering Education, Kenneth Stanton, hooded by Professor Richard Goff.
Please join me in a round of applause for our newest doctoral recipients. I would now like to acknowledge those students who have earned postmaster's education specialist degrees and those who have earned graduate certificates. Those of you who have received both of these, will you please stand and accept our congratulations? Grad certificates and education specialists, thank you. You may be seated. Virginia Tech offers 92 master's degree programs. These include the Master of Arts and the Master of Science in many academic disciplines, and also the Master of Fine Arts, the Master of Business Administration, and professional master's degrees in a number of disciplines, including architecture education, engineering, forestry, information technology, natural resources, public affairs, and urban planning. And now it's time to recognize these students who have earned the master's degrees. Will all the candidates for the master's degrees please rise? President Steger, I have the honor to present the candidates for the master's degrees.
With the power vested in me by the Board of Visitors in the Commonwealth of Virginia and upon recommendation of the faculty, I confer upon you the master's degrees to which you are entitled with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
You may be seated. Will the marshals please escort the candidates for the master's degree to the stage? Dr. Joseph Marola will be reading the names of the master's degree recipients.
Receiving the Education Specialist degree, Meredith Bussey Doan. Jeannie Wright. Jennifer McGee. Stacy Sidori. Marie Fine. Madonna Mendoza. Brenton Bird. Penny Williams. Genesis Mangram. Rena Daniels. A married couple receiving the Educational Specialist, Melissa Thompson and William Thompson. From the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, receiving the Master of Science in Agriculture and Applied Economics, Olivera Jankowska. Leah Harris. Gertrude Nakakito. Abigail Ingima. Receiving the Masters of Science in Agriculture and Life Sciences, Kiera Capoletti. James Shepard. Receiving the Masters of Science in Animal and Poultry Science, Erin Higgins. Allison Eccles. Heather Albrecht. Laura Whittish. Receiving the Masters of Life Sciences in Biochemistry, Jenna E. Hess. Hareb Al-Jabri. Receiving the Masters of Science in Crop and Soil Environmental Sciences, Philip Wells Browning. Sarah Ann Burleson. Michael Childress. Christopher W. Fields Johnson. Catherine Herdler. Whitney Nash. Timothy Woodward. Receiving the Masters of Science in Dairy Science, Brittany Stewart. Receiving the Masters of Life Sciences in Entomology, Meredith Castle. Laura Maxey. Heather Andrews. Amy Snyder. Ying Zhang. Receiving the Masters of Life Sciences in Food Science and Technology, Renee Felice. Lu Men Chen. Qin Li. Receiving the Masters of Science in Human Nutrition, Foods, and Exercise, Dana Comber. Rachel Cornett. Catherine Ferguson. Erin Kresge. From the College of Architecture and Urban Studies, receiving the Master of Architecture, Abigail McKinley. Jeremy Clifford. Jennifer Farley. Michael Wendt. Lauren Ricks. John Jaskowitz. Alexander Worden. Dalia Hafiz. Guy Talarico. Darnell Parker II. Ji Lee. Yan King Zhang. Receiving the Master of Public Administration, Julianne Crow. Receiving the Master of Public and International Affairs, Michael Sage. Jane Knopp. Megan Byrne. Receiving the Master of Urban and Regional Planning, Harvey Clark Jr. Hallie Cowan. Lauren Douglas. Maria Cecilia Garcia. Scott Lale. William Long. Allison Lorenz. Shraddha Nadkarni. Ashley Prout. Nicholas Scheuer. William Sutton. Lindy Balls. Receiving the Master of Accounting and Information Systems, Michael Pennington. Patrick Hedrick. Josh Morrison. Edward Gill Jr. Christopher Sullivan. Zachary Wench. Kelly Cox. Julie Kelly. Doug Hundley. Michael O'Toole. Evan Tripp. Jason Robb. Andrew Huang. Pamela Jo Mojica. Charity Spansky. Lauren Binford. Jenna Neely. Asia Washington. Angelina Avalos. Emily Hughes. Matthew Hinder. Lauren Steele. Megan Clough. Lindsay Engel. Barrett Mears, Jennifer Smith, Matthew Napper, Caroline Raybill, Sue Guo, Ying Fu, Le Zhang, Di Hu, Yu Gao, Zhui Ma, Yanbin Zhang, Yichang Liu, Jason Heim, Philip Demick, Richard Hart, Trenton McDorman, David Shirley, Daniel Louie, Jose Casar, Jason Carmen, Justin Curley, Christina Davis, from the Pamplin College of Business, receiving the Master of Business Administration, Carl Kospel, Megan Berker, Heidi Kavanaugh, Catherine Cox, Brian Snyder, Nathan Rust, Brian Ekwai, Nicholas Arms, Agnes Abolina, Rebecca Amati, Sebel Creston, Eduardo Madusi, Dustin Morris, Andrea Synott, William Lewis Kukis III, Adriana Lemaitre, Sonia Milstead, Lashana Freeman, Deborah Macedonia, Luke Schrader, Austin Bardwell, Chao Man Liu, Yailin Li, Changjung Li, Hui Yun Chen, Yan Tao Fang, Yang Shang, Jas Sidhu, Amy Bajwa, Gulshan Matwani, Tai Wei Wu, Priya Ray, Rini Rajan, Ashish Rai, Arajit Roy, Martha Gross, Scott Sanders, Umar Hyatt, Thomas Kandrak, Daniel Royer, Guillermo Goycochea, Paulette. Todd Patillo, Ying Sang, Ram Krishna Wagli, Christian Rubio Cespedes, Anshul Jain, Priyanka Kulkarni, Kedar Valankar, Adam Terminella, receiving the Master of Science in Hospitality and Tourism Management, Hyune Min. Receiving the Master of Science in Marketing, Brian Covington. From the College of Engineering, receiving the Master of Science in Aerospace Engineering, Lauren Butt. Craig Morris. Subhash Kafli. Christopher Smith, receiving the Master of Science in Biological Systems Engineering, Kiera Ebanks. Daniel Laird. Lubna Shahade. Matthew Glow. Jenny Pinney, receiving the Master of Science in Biomedical Engineering, Stephanie Beeman. Jeffrey Beyer. Christina Simetz. Alondra Iscardo-Ramon, receiving the Master of Science in Civil Engineering, Scott Miller. Mohammed Ajaz. Alexander Reeb. Michael Field. Kamalika Pal. Vidula Bardkumkar. Dawal Ashar. Meredith Jackson. Raj Kishore Kalamanath Sharma. Juan Lee. Nondas Epamanuda. Catherine Rios. Juanaville Otero Rangel. Chris Bowling. Jason Tartaglia. Lindsay Hatcher. Peter Kaufman. Lance Shields. Pardis Pishtad. Chayanika Mitra. Sally Longjam. Sindhuja Gunesh. Vardon Rai Sikar. Philip Jennings II. John Congus. William Young. Christopher Gray. Takara Green. Burke Uslu. Jeff Su. Alex Holloman. Diana Brown. Janelle Bonkel. Brandon Flora. Elizabeth Moreton. Hannah Cardwell. Paul Rudwick. Thomas Boothroyd. Richard Lazardi. Francisco Flores. Juan Pablo Sanchez, receiving the Master of Science and Master of Engineering in Computer Engineering, Robert Lewis. Jacob Couch. Nirmal Sharma Shapagai. Lingyang Wang. Sinan Huang. Sureshwar Rajagopalan. Guru Prasad Subaranian. Karthik Luxmanan. Ramya Narayana Swami. Atira Chandra Saikaram. Piyush Guryali. Jaydeep Karaya. Vishnu Naranan, receiving the Master of Science in Computer Science and Applications, Zalia Shams. Wendell Jordan Brangman. Reggie Paniker. Edgardo Vega. Seth Fox. Tristram Bethea. Serdar Aslan. Mayank Daga. Ryan Braithwaite. Yipan Dang. Daniel McFarland. Ashwin Kanda Parker. Venkat Ganesan. Ashwin Palani. Nagarajan Kupaswamy. Receiving the Master of Science and Master of Engineering in Electrical Engineering, Amy Maladi. Benjamin Hilburn. Jinsik Young. Michael Steiner. Matthew Price. Al-Mohanad Fayez. Kyle Thomas. Jerry Towler. Alvaro Ribeiro. Bipin Davali. Mayank Saraf. Pallavi Saraswati. Manasa Valipa. Lloyd Gurjau. Jatin Thacker. Karan Desai. Mridula Karve. Vaishnavi Srinivas Aragawan. Aditi Chaudhary. Sushruta Vigraham. Saparya Krishnamurthy. Shruti Iyer. Ravakiran Dinakar. Jayashri Seshadri. Sarita Pandyat. Vladimir Podosinov. Justin Walraven. Wei Min Lee. Jing Shui. Feng Yu. Receiving the Master of Science in Engineering Mechanics, Catherine Arthur. Valerie Walters. Katie Murray. Receiving the Master of Science in Environmental Engineering, Jamie Zivich. Receiving the Master of Science in Environmental Sciences and Engineering, Michael Ward. Heather Vereb. Receiving the Master of Science in Industrial Systems Engineering, Andre Sidau. Naga Ravinutala. Donald Cutler. Navnita Dorbala. Alba Claudia Rojas Cordova. Gokhan Turhan. Yash Patel. Shri Krishna Koratikre. Mohit Muyamdar. Michael Patty. David Bateman. Danielle Smith. Karen Tucker. Anna Shu. Catherine Mann. Travis Terry. Receiving the Master of Science in Materials Science and Engineering, Matthew Heiser. Gordon Waller. Receiving the Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, Andrew Bolanger. Vivek Setapati. Alperin Katana. Christopher Liam. Khaled Ajrid. Chase Holland. Tong Do. Lynn Gant. Donald Perkins. Patrick Walsh. Carlos Guevara. Sujay Kawali. Alan Staley. Matt Lippy. Jason Dress. Ryan Matulich. Matthew McDaniel. Eric Gustafson. Brian McCabe. Kevin Sevilla. Receiving the Master of Science in Mining Engineering, Edmund Jung. Rosemary Patterson. Receiving the Master of Science in Ocean Engineering, Corey Kearns. From interdisciplinary programs, receiving the Master of Information Technology, Earl Donald Goodson III. Andrew Shields Meeks. Patrick Forns. Autumn Dawn Blanchett. Carlos Marsante. Lucas Covey. Joseph Silcox. James Lynch. Daniel Ostring. Brock Burrows. David Mackenzie. Budi Tan, from the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, receiving the Master of Arts in Communication, Laurie Brogdon. Ashley Gallert. Megan Tice. Eric Olson. Philip M. Koska, Jr. Receiving the Master of Arts in Education in Counselor Education, Kristen Morrison. Nicole Stupp. Marie Casey. Ann Aker. Jacqueline Permito. Bridget Funk. Kathleen Overstreet. Kevin Doyle. Justin Jordan. Charles Crawley. Edward Magalhaes. Receiving the Master of Arts in Education in Curriculum and Instruction, Mark Rash. Erica Owens. Sarah Lichtenstein. John D. Massey, Jr. Pamela Johnson. Diana Campbell. Kathleen Carper. Elise Janowitz. Lauren Sacco. Laura Dicker. Erin Haley. Christine Saunders. Megan Dixon. Jessica Gibson. Jason Augustowski. Sarah Emhoff. Angela Hash. Lisa Aker. Angela Hash. Kara Elam. Pamela Wheeler. Michael Green. Will Satterwhite. Nora Batallo. Elizabeth Witt. Allison Brownell. Nicole Bonfiglio. Alexander Schmidt. Elizabeth Schultz. Natalie Fuentes. Byron Wiedemann. Justin Taylor. Matthew Beaton. Katie Odell. Jacqueline Smith. Brandon Lilly. Ashley Grapes. Ryan Smith. Hussein Barma. Adam Daniel. Nicole Joshi. Nick Cornwell. Brittany Corbett. Kelsey Bybee. Chelsea Cooper. Jamie Nichols. Dean Stevenson. Katie Valentine. Drew Nagy. John Stevens. Abby Hughes, Jennifer Soldan, Elizabeth Drexel, Michael Overson, Brianna McHugh, Catherine Steele, Erica Creasy, Ashley Hess, Alexandra Shords, Mary Lewis, an accompanist, Ming Jen Fong, Xiao Jin Moore, Grace Carpenter, Virginie Rodriguez, Yohili Cristina Toro de Leon, Lauren Cannon, Elise Barth, Sarah Laundrie, Lauren Miller, Natalie Cuzzolino, Tiffany Barakat, Mary Sloan Lynch, Thomas Brandon Sexton, Amanda Shabe, Jessica Quick, Kate Huffman, Melissa Green, Leslie Hetrick, Ashley Hurst, Erica Schroeder, Carrie Thaxton, Autumn Gaines, Rochelle Jenkinson, Jacqueline Grisco, Megan Follow, Danielle Waters, Rachel Lamana, Amy Gillespie, Marshall Cheney, Julie Kuzma, Clint Richards, Gordon Parr, Carrie Schweitzer, Tara McGrady, Jeffrey Short, Cheryl Bailey, Dina Sneed, Beth Rickman, Deed Clifford, Dana Bryan, Laurie Ann Hody Gearhart, Betsy Weitzel, receiving the Master of Science in Education in Career and Technical Education, Teresa Alt, Jean Capps, Reno Palumbit, Ryan Graff, Jacob Hunt, Amanda Kinzer, Kelsey Ewing, Catherine Staples, Aaron Eberstein, Meredith Hawkins, Stephanie Barker, Jessica Catley, Jacqueline Mather, Bradley Greenway, Thomas Enos, Tony Young, April Grizzard, Laura Jones, W. Taylor Linsky, Melinda Lindsay, Elizabeth Warrener, Sarah Heiser, Cynthia Kuntz, Sarah Joseph, Rachel Preston, Catherine Vertz, Stephen Waller, Bridget Smith, receiving the Master of Science in Health and Physical Education, Lenny Brown, Melita Lee, Allison Smith, Dustin Greenwood, receiving the Master of Arts in Education in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, Kathleen Scarborough, Lori Balch, Marie Bullock, Stephanie Gross, Holly Bailey, Lisa Mercer, Greg Mullins, Marcus Sartin, Jonathan Bell, Rebecca Dangerfield, Elizabeth Dooley, Tyrone Jean, Amy Perkins, Holly Danforth, Elvin Bryant, Alicia Ring, Justin Zimmerman, Angela Hayes, Shelley Burkholder, Justin W. Kelly, Stephanie Lang, Jenna Ray Versilo, Jamie Shepard, James L. Gresham II, receiving the Master of Arts in Foreign Languages, Cultures, and Literatures, Shayna Morris, Robert Knopfsinger, receiving the Master of Arts in Political Science, Kent Morris, receiving the Master of Science in Sociology, Catherine Kotrupi, receiving the Master of Science in Science and Technology Studies, Gregory Nelson, receiving the Master of Science in Geography, Erica Adams, Lauren Franklin, receiving the Master of Science and Master of Forestry and Forest Products, Scott Lyon, Scarlett Sanchez, Chao Wang, Jonathan Wyatt, Adam Watson. From the College of Science, receiving the Master of Science in Biological Sciences, Sarah Riggs. Ruba Alajloni, receiving a Master of Science in Chemistry, Thomas Rockhold. Gayatri Ankem, Yumin Dai, Receiving the Master of Science in Geosciences, Joyce Carba. Receiving the Master of Science in Mathematics, Brent Pickering. Christoph Palu. Klaus Badauka. Matthew W. DeWitt. Receiving a Master's in Statistics, Yin Cheng Yi. Hu Wei Yi. And from the Virginia, Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine, receiving the Master of Science in Biomedical and Veterinary Sciences, Mary Ann Werner.
Congratulations to the class of 2011. And finally, this afternoon, we'd like to take a few moments to acknowledge the immense talent, commitment, and responsibility of the Virginia Tech faculty, who are so critical to the advancement of graduate education at Virginia Tech. I would like to ask the President of the Faculty Senate, Dr. Michael Ellerbrock, to offer some remarks on behalf of the faculty.
I suspect that your best professors have been those who saw you as a partner in the learning and discovery adventure. On their behalf, and as the last Hokie professor who will address you, I simply want to say thank you for the privilege. We are proud of you. Carry on.
A special thanks to Ms. Allison Brownwell and to the members of the Virginia Tech Brass Ensemble for their part in today's ceremony. Now, please stand until the stage party has recessed, and with the recessional, our ceremony will be concluded. Thank you for joining us, and have a safe trip home.